Morning, everyone. This is Britt Simon. I thought it would be important for us to have, let's see, let me just add something here. Your questions. For us to have a live session. And let's just show that one. Hold your questions. There you go. All right. So, yeah, I thought it would be important to have a live session. And thanks to the first few people that have joined me already. I appreciate that. Yee, says Nicola. The Department of State have made clear their intention, I think, for how they see things moving forward. And I want to show you two or three things that will sort of make this clear to you. How they intend to operate things if they're not stopped by a lawsuit. When the visa bulletin made all regions current, I'm sure many of you rejoiced, particularly those of you at high case numbers, thinking that all would be well because, for example, there's only 20 people in your country, the embassy appears to be working, and you thought you were going to get processed. That probably isn't the case. There's no celebrations here. This DV 2021 is going to be a mess. It's going to be a disaster. And unless it's stopped by a lawsuit, which funnily enough is probably a DV 2020 lawsuit that will have major impact on it, unless it's stopped by a lawsuit, the government will continue to operate in a certain way. And that way will more or less guarantee that the majority of you by far will not get your visas this year in DV 2021 unless stopped by a lawsuit. Okay, so that's the reality. Hold your questions. Please don't ask questions. I'm going to explain this. I actually have limited time this morning because I'm going with my family for a quick trip just for today. So I need to focus on what I want to explain to you and explain my thought process. And then if I have time, I'll take a couple of brief questions after that. So I'm going to show you my screen. And for those of you that that join late or whatever, go back to the beginning, and you'll understand where I'm coming from with all of this, right? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. That one. Let me share. Yeah, that should be okay. All right, I'll just share that. Okay. So here's what I want to show you. The three pieces of evidence on how things are going, right? Firstly, there was a fairly big announcement yesterday, which was about the way that the government intend to prioritize cases. It was posted on the travel.state.gov website. That's the Department of State. The Department of State is the department that controls the consular offices abroad, and they control processing. And what they're saying is, you can read it if you wish, but what they're saying is that due to COVID, there's a huge backlog. We know that. Due to COVID, and because of the backlog, they have chosen to prioritize cases in a certain way. So they've set out this tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. And tier 1 is certain very high priority visas, intra-country adoption visas, timeouts, age outs, etc., for where the applicant will no longer qualify due to their age. That's probably family based, but it may be something that someone could leverage from a DV point of view. Timeouts where you have a child who is going to age out. So that's the first tier 1. That's the first preference. Then immediate relative visas, sponsoring a child or a spouse, fiance visas, and returning resident visas. Returning resident visas may be important for people that were abroad when the COVID crisis happened, and need to return at some point because they've been out for longer than 1 year. They need to get an SB1 returning resident visa. So that's interesting. They're processing those. Tier 3 is family preference immigrant visas. Now, family preference immigrant visas, that category includes brothers and sisters of citizens whose cases take 10 years, 11 years, more these days actually with the backlog. Years, right? There's no reason to categorize those higher than DV, because if you see in Tier 4, all other immigrant visas are categorized together in this Tier 4, including employment preference. Employment preference is a big deal. That's just amazing. And diversity visas. Now, and diversity is what we care about, obviously, right? What I care about, what if you're listening to me, it's what you care about. To categorize employment preference low is to anger, many companies, powerful companies in this country. And the fact that they're in Tier 4 tells you how bad things are in terms of how few visas they expect to process in Tiers 1, 2, and 3. Okay, they don't expect to do very much work at all. So the government is saying that we're only going to be giving interviews to these categories in that order, and that they're probably going to try and do a few interviews per consulate that is open over that period of time. But there are still 50 embassies that haven't accepted a single interview yet in DV 2021. Let me just show you here. Save Diversity Visa webpage, it has got some useful information, and down the bottom of that webpage, it actually has all the information about how many cases have been processed so far, how many have been scheduled, both in terms of cases, which is this numbers here, and people on the left-hand side here, so you can figure it out both ways. It then gives a number per embassy, which is interesting. If you want to know about what's happening in your embassy, you can see. And down the bottom here, it shows which embassies have accepted cases here in green, as opposed to those embassies that haven't accepted a single case yet. So you see Ghana, for example, Turkmenistan, Jordan, going down the list, Spain, Madrid. These embassies in red haven't had a single case yet. Now, for some of them, for example, for Bermuda doesn't get very many cases, but they process the North American region, which there are 20 or so winners. But still, they're not processing those cases. I mean, how bad is the COVID crisis in Bermuda that they can't see, half a dozen cases? What is going on? Clearly, there are some embassies which are choosing to be extremely careful due to the COVID crisis. I can certainly understand that at a consulate like in India. We all know, I hope you all know, how bad things are in India right now, and we should spare a thought for the country of India. It's going through a terrible COVID hell. And hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are going to die in India, have already died probably. The official numbers are 200,000. The real numbers are way higher than that. Hundreds of thousands, probably over 1 million people already have died in India, and many more will, because their health system has collapsed. So I think many of you actually are still just unaware that COVID is really a thing and that it's really dangerous. It is really dangerous. It is really a thing. It's perfectly legitimate for an embassy to say they don't want to expose their staff to the COVID virus. But they could have done things. They could have somehow taken care of vaccination programs. There were 2 members of staff that died at the Indian consulate, and 100 of the consulate staff got sick. And in the news published about that, they talked about the vaccinations for those people had only happened in the last few weeks. Come on, guys. That's ridiculous. In America, 100 million people are vaccinated. Other countries need to take this seriously. Otherwise, you'll find that the numbers will increasingly surge in various countries because the virus gets to a certain sort of level of a community infection, and it then just goes nuts, because once 20–30% of people are infected, there's no stopping it. There's no stopping the infection at that point. So, America never got to that level, and therefore the vaccination program was able to work. India took it carelessly. They started off very well. They allowed the infection to go to a crazy level without taking the vaccination program seriously, and they're paying the price. Their public are paying the price. So anyway, COVID crisis is real. Don't make any mistake about that. And it's legitimate for an embassy to, in certain countries to say, no, we can't open. That's legitimate. What is not a legitimate statement is to say, we're not going to do anything to interview people, and we're only going to prioritize, very, very few cases. They can do interviews by Zoom. They could do, they could do remote working. KCC can have more remote working going on. They could be doing more. So anyway, so that's the embassy situation. I gave you the statement here, and let me just show you also something that came out of Curtis Morrison's case here. There was a statement made by Kimberly Robertson, or a report filed, showing how much work has been done. And frankly, we didn't need this information about how few cases they've actually handled over the last couple of months. We didn't need that information because we've got all that data. But it's useful to have the government stated. And they seem to be proud about this. They seem to they say these numbers clearly demonstrate that KCC continue to schedule DV 2021 cases in ever increasing numbers. Ever increasing numbers? What the? This is ridiculous to have so far 1,500 cases processed at this time of year. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And Curtis Morrison is quite rightly pointing out that this is anything but a clear demonstration of goodwill by the government, by the Department of State. It's anything but that. It's disgraceful. But what was interesting in here is KCC's continuing processing of DV 2021 cases. Defendants being the Department of State or the government, report that as of April 29th, a total of 11,112 cases representing 23,692 applicants have been determined to be documentarily qualified. That's a really interesting finding. So what that is talking about is people that have had the ready for scheduling email. They've sent in the DS-260, they've sent in the documents, and they've received the ready for scheduling email. They are ready for scheduling. They're all current, right? There's 11,000 cases. And so far, in 2 or 3 months of processing time, the government have managed to process 1,500 cases, right? So we've got June 2NLs have not been sent out yet. By the way, they are late. They will probably be sent out, I expect, over the next few days, but they've not been sent out yet. And I suspect we're going to see a few hundred interviews arranged in June, right? And then we'll have July, August, and September, 3 further months. And again, I suspect that we'll probably see less than 1,000 cases in each of those months being actually scheduled. Because if you take the prioritization and you take that mindset and you say, okay, we're going to do these cases and these cases and these cases, and somewhere down here we're going to do diversity lottery. You take that mindset. You take this list of embassies that are closed or partially open and the numbers that we have to see how few cases each embassy has taken, and you take this information, 11,000 cases are ready for scheduling, representing 24,000 people. That's more people than they can handle at the pace that they're going. There's already enough people, more than enough people in their mindset to more than they can handle for the remainder of the year. So KCC and the government have made it very clear they don't expect to it wouldn't matter as far as they're concerned if they don't process another set of documents. Doesn't matter, because they're not going to get through this 11,000 cases. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope you do, right? That if you're not already ready for scheduling, you pretty much have no chance. And even if you are ready for scheduling, you're going to be sitting at home confused because your embassy isn't scheduling you. And each month, you may be getting the ready for scheduling. You may even be getting the letter that says you're current for visa interview, which should mean that they're trying to arrange your interview right now. It remains to be seen whether that really means that they're trying to schedule your interview right now. It should mean that. But for example, Sweshi, I don't know if you've joined this morning. I haven't looked at the list of people. But my friend in Obamaland, as he says, in Kenya, Kenya are scheduling, but they're scheduling very few cases. So my friend Sweshi has the email that says he's current for visa processing. That means in a normal year, that means that he's about to be scheduled in the very next release of 2NLs. All right, that would be what it would normally mean. But is that going to happen? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see whether that particular case or other cases like it get scheduled. But clearly, at the pace that the Department of State have said is okay, and with the embassies working, etc., this is going to be a disaster. Okay, so that's the reality, right? Let's talk about, and many of you might say, "Oh, Simon's being negative again." I'm trying to be realistic with you. I'm trying to be, everybody who is a DV winner is supposed to be an adult, right? And so as an adult, you should be able to hear this news, and I shouldn't be, reading comments about, why you're being so negative. I'm a very positive person, but there is a time to be realistic. Okay. So that's the situation there, right? It's clear that with the prioritization, with the way they've demonstrated they're working, and with the amount of cases that they already have processed, they've got more than enough people already processed to just spend the next 3 or 4 months, processing very few cases a month. Now, I think that's negligent. Negligence is a legal term where it means you haven't taken enough care about something you were entrusted to do. That is definitely the position with the government. They can be held to be negligent, and a court could rule against them. Now, I said earlier that, funnily enough, a DV 2020 case could be the important factor here. So let me just recap what happened in DV 2020. From April or May of last year, we were suing the government. There were various cases, Aka, Fongjong Mohammed, Kennedy, and Gomez. Gomez became the lead case that encapsulated all of those other cases. So we now talk about the Gomez case. And the Gomez case won a judgment from Judge Mehta in September 4th, I believe it was, to allow processing between September 4th and September 30th within the last remaining days of DV 2020. That achieved almost 7,000 visas, I think it was, that were processed in that time. Bearing in mind that most of those cases were already at the embassies. That is not, as the lawyers keep saying, that is not the ability or the volume that the KCC can work at. The KCC can't work at that level. Even in normal times, they've never worked at that level. It wouldn't be normal to expect 7,000 cases to be processed every month. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, 7,000 cases got processed then. But importantly, Judge Mehta set aside 9,095 visas for the possibility to issue them later. He preserved those. He did that on September 30th. He did that because he believed he had to preserve them during the fiscal year. And so he made a strong decision, a very good decision in my opinion, to preserve some visas. We're not happy that he only preserved 9,095, but nevertheless, the principle is there, right? That he preserved 9,095 visas. The lawyers in the Gomez case will continue to argue there should be more visas. The Gomez outcome won't be for some weeks yet, possibly a couple of months. There's no deadline. I'm guaranteed. I know I've got questions. When are we going to hear about Gomez? The point, I don't know, is the answer. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 3 months' time. I have no idea when the Gomez case will be decided, right? But the Gomez outcome is very important because Judge Mehta now has to decide in that case whether he can tell the government to issue those 9,095 visas. There's sort of been wins in this way before. Curtis Morrison has talked about that at length, about this case or that case where there was some preserved visas. There were for an embassy bombing. Then there were in, I think it was 2011, perhaps later, there was another few cases. But in the end, those have not been proven to be issued, or they've timed out or whatever. There's been various things. So as of now, Judge Mehta has not got, in my opinion, he's not got a very clear way of issuing those visas. He doesn't believe he has. And that's what he needs in order to finish off the decision he started on September 30th, to allow issuance of at least those 9,095 visas. He needs to make that decision, right? And that's what he's been taking all this time for. And, you know, it's been a long time coming, frankly. Now, the Go suit, which is the suit from Charles Cook and Greg Siskind and that team of lawyers, the Go lawsuit has ended up with Judge Mehta. And so in normal law, a decision made in one case would be applicable and something to bring up in another case. That's absolutely true. But in this case, we actually have the same judge that is about to make a decision, we hope, in Gomez, and is now going to be asked to make a decision in Go. And so he's probably, whatever happens in Gomez will be the telltale for what will happen in Go, in other words, because it's the same judge, the same situation, the same negligence, etc. We're going to have the Gomez decision is important for DV 2021 now, more so than ever. And so, you know, we wait for both of those cases in terms of outcome. Now, the piece of the Go case that is important is the Go case, just like the Curtis Morrison case. They're both mandamus cases. Mandamus cases mean, for this named plaintiff, dear government, you need to get off your ass and do something for this person, right? And for this person and this person and this person. So being a named plaintiff on that sort of case is important, because the mandamus aspect means that the government have to do something, right? That's what mandamus really means. You know, you are being told to do something that is your duty. And so I think both of those cases, in the mandamus aspect of them, have some good chance of getting things done, but there are limitations, right? There are limitations on what the embassies are prepared to do, and we've seen the limitations. They're doing very little work. So there probably isn't enough time at current pace to satisfy even the mandamus cases. There's probably not enough time for even the named plaintiffs, right? If they get thousands of people signing up to the mandamus cases, there's not enough time to do that work. There's not enough capacity at the capacity they're doing, right? And forget anyone else, right? If you're not on the lawsuit, if you're not on the lawsuit and you haven't got ready for scheduling, forget it. You're done, right? It's as simple as that. So, you increase your chances by being on a lawsuit, sure, but you don't guarantee your chances by being on the lawsuit, even if the lawsuits are successful. So there's a part of the Go case, and I think maybe Curtis Morrison has included this, I don't know, but they would be wise to do so. There is a part of the Go case that says you need to preserve, dear government, you need to do what you need to do for this person and this person and this person, but you also judgment and need to tell the government to reserve or preserve all 55,000 visas, because there isn't going to be enough time to take care of even the mandamus aspect for the mandamus list of named plaintiffs, right? So the Go case is not like the Gomez case was a pro bono class action, and all of the DV 2020 people are covered under the Gomez case. The Go case is not a class action like that, but it's asking for a similar sort of relief in terms of preserving the 55,000. And frankly, without that, this year is going to be trash, right? It's just going to be, we'll see less than 10,000 visas issued, far less than 10,000 visas issued, without a lawsuit that preserves the time after the end of the year. So I hope that's all. I'm sort of showing you the puzzle here. I'm showing you all of the factors that kind of prove my point, that show how we can see what's about to happen. And I'm very anxious. I'm very concerned and worried for DV 2021 as well as DV 2020. And in fact, at this point, DV 2022, which is about to be announced in a week's time, that's also going to be in trouble, because they're going to be experiencing the same impacts, right? KCC not working, the embassies not working come October probably. They're going to experience the same things. So this backlog that the government talk about, that's not going to be cleared up in 6 months. There's no way that's going to be cleared up in 6 months. It's going to take years to deal with the damage that the Trump administration and the COVID crisis did. Secretary Mayorkas talked about a gutted immigration system. He wasn't kidding. The reason that they're not able to put this all back together, I believe, is because they just the infrastructure that was the Department of State has just been ripped to shreds by Trump and his cronies, and they, like a government organization, they're focusing on what they think is the most important things first, but and they're trying to rebuild that, but bloody hell, they're taking their time. It's no good. They need to move faster. So that's where we stand. Right. So let me just take off this banner for a second. I'll take a couple of quick questions, but I won't be able to do many questions because, as I say, I've got to go out. So let's see who or what questions we've got, right? So Francois says, you're a Go plaintiff living in London, current in April, but never received, last has gone now. Never received requests for supporting docs, so sent in March, getting templated response from KCC. Yeah, exactly. I think I just explained why, Francois, they don't give a damn. KCC don't give a damn. London hasn't taken a single interview yet. KCC have 11,000 cases already processed, and they know they won't need all of those cases. They can't process all of those cases. KCC are not rushing to deal with your documents. Yeah, so I think that's sort of sinking into Dakar, what I was just saying. Yeah, hope they work on finding a fair resolution for those winners still waiting to be processed. It's really, this does not affect, fingers crossed, this does not affect future years. Yeah, it's going to affect DV 2022, I'm pretty sure of it. So there you go. All right, case number is AS 12,100, not current yet. What do you mean not current? Oh, you're from Nepal or Iran, I should imagine. Ask KCC to change my post from Ankara to Yerevan, not accepted yet. Okay, so the general question of, can I move from this embassy to that embassy? My embassy is not working, can I move to that embassy? Many people are trying that, and in general, the other embassy says no, right? The embassy that you would like to move to says no. If you try and contact them directly, they just say no. They're only accepting cases local, either residents in their own country, right? And that's because in normal years you could have a case or a few cases that move from embassy to embassy, but you can't suddenly take, I don't know, take some little embassy, some little embassy that normally sees 20 cases in a year, and suddenly have all of, I don't know, Cairo's, cases turning up on their doorstep wanting to be interviewed. It just doesn't work. And so obviously they set a policy to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to accept all of the cases from, all the countries, neighboring countries around. So they're going to limit the number of cases that actually get transferred. It'll be a very small number. And, most embassies will have, frankly, more work than they can do just from their own residents in their own country. There are two ways to approach that. Obviously, you can ask KCC to try and reschedule you or to schedule you in a different country. But frankly, at the moment, you can see what they're doing. They're not working. They're not trying to do any of that sort of work, and they're not trying to sort of, they've already got more people than they can handle. Why are they going to work for you? Majed, you're not even current yet, but you will be next month probably. I think all regions will go current. All countries will go current. You'll probably be current, but KCC are not going to help, and the embassy is probably not going to help. So that, sorry to be so blunt about it, but that's the reality. Can you join two lawsuits at the same time? No, you can't. Both lawsuits look to do the same thing. You have to choose between one lawyer and another. Okay, another constant question I'm getting at the moment is which of these lawsuits should I join? Right? Please tell me which lawsuit should I join. How do I sort out between the two? I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to answer that question. I can't tell you to join this lawsuit or that lawsuit. I think the Go lawsuit additional cases closed last night. I think that was the plan. So you missed that bus anyway. So now it's not even an important question. If you didn't get on one lawsuit or the other, probably you don't have the option for the Go lawsuit now. I think Curtis Morrison is still accepting cases, and so that might be your remaining option. The other way that you could sort that out is which of the two teams of lawyers do you like? Who do you want to hear from? They've got different styles, different attitudes. Curtis likes to play out everything on Twitter and be very transparent. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. The government has actually used his transparency against him. The style of the other group of lawyers, Charles Cook and Greg Siskind, etc. Perhaps is a different approach that has been less antagonistic. But so you could choose between the lawyers if there is a choice at some point. You can choose between the two sets of lawyers based on who you like, right? Curtis Morrison and Rafael Arena are young. They're dynamic. Maybe you like that. They've set up a pretty good organization with quite a lot of translators. But in previous arguments, I think we've heard more from Chuck Cook than we have from Rafael or Curtis Morrison, and certainly more effect, being more effective. And it's the Go case that actually I believe, in front of Meta, I think is probably the best chance for us at the moment. So anyway, that's your choices at the moment. Yeah, I just explained, Mohab, where will DV 2022 be affected? I don't know if it will be as bad, but yes, it's going to be affected at this point. I think it's pretty clear it's going to be affected. The COVID crisis is not going away from countries until they get vaccination programs in place. Simple as that. Can the Jacob case give relief to its named 2021 plaintiffs? Yeah, that's a possibility. But again, if you look at Jacob and you look at Go and you look at the new filing, I don't know what it's going to be called, from Curtis Morrison. If you look at all of those, there's too many people. Too many people are already expecting special treatment as named plaintiffs, even for the remaining work that the government expect to do. So, the government does not have intentions to extend the fiscal year 2021. No, of course they don't. That is so bloody silly. So they are not they're not going to do that unless they're instructed to do that, until a judge tells them to do that. As far as they're concerned, you call them about DV 2020 right now, and they're going to tell you DV 2020 is over, because that's what the law says. That's what the normal process says. So of course they're not going to extend DV 2021. If you believe that, you believe in fairies. They're not going to do that unless they're told to do that, right? That's the reality. The government certainly don't have intention to extend the 2021 fiscal year. No. What do I mean KCC is not working, please? Are they currently not working to full capacity? I understand the embassies. Well, I just explained. They have, okay, so let me say it another way. The government have already said that they're going to do a very, very limited number of cases. The government have said that they've already got 11,000 cases already processed. The limited number is less than 11,000. The limited number of capacity cases, the cases that they could handle, is less than 11,000. Why are they going to do anything else? They already have too many people in the hopper for them to process for the rest of the year. Why are they going to process other cases? Why are they going to increase their capacity, their remote working capacity to some high level and suddenly start dealing with all these cases? They're not. They're not going to do that because they've already done enough as far as they're concerned for DV 2021 because COVID, right? So, you know, that's the reality. They're doing a few cases here and there that, you know, it's just not enough. Not a single interview scheduled in Macedonia. Yep, I know. No emails from KCC, and I've sent my DS260. This is the other thing that's driving me nuts. Not in a normal year, somebody can ask me a question what to do, and I can ask them a few things, and I can say, here's what you do, right? You send your documents and all will be well. You send your DS260, you fix this, you do this. I can give people instructions in a normal year. I don't know what to tell people in this year because the normal processes are not working, right? I can't, you know, it should be that I could go through your documents. I mean, I've done this for a few people. I'm certainly not going to do it for thousands of people. I don't have time. But I've gone through a few cases and I've checked their documents and I said, yeah, your documents, you know, are fine, or your documents are missing this and people didn't realize, or, you know, I've helped people in various ways at various times, you know, with clear and hands-on help, right? I've helped people with their DS260s, with their documents, with scheduling. I've made phone calls and emails to KCC on behalf of individual. I've done all sorts of things. In previous years, I've done all sorts of things, right? This year, I have no idea what to do because KCC are not operating normally. I can tell someone, do this with your documents. Here's how you lay out your documents. You send it to KCC. It should get response, and it doesn't. I can tell someone, email and ask if KCC are satisfied with the documents. That should get a decent response. It doesn't. You know, at the moment, nothing's working right? I said things would be chaos. I've been warning people for months to send in their documents. I suspect that a lot of those 11,000 cases that have been processed are cases that listen to me. I'm thankful for that. But I still have people. I still have people who email or ask me questions. Should I send in my documents? You know, just beyond me that people are not listening. But anyway, that's where it is. Oh, here's another thing. You're really concerned about the interview, even though you have a low number. Yes, you should be concerned. Everyone should be concerned. Until you get the visa in your hand, you should be concerned. But you have a low number. Now, if you look at the, if you look back, let me share the screen again. If you look at, sorry, let me show you this. If you look at this graph, it shows how low case numbers have been given some sort of priority. This is Africa. Up to 18,500, etc. There's a few cases here. I mean, this is less than 10 cases, right? In numbers from the 8,000 range to 8,500 cases. What about, you know, 4 cases, 4 people? Ridiculous, you know. But you can see that there's more activity at the lower case numbers. You see the same thing in Asia, right? Even though all these numbers are now current, they have obviously been focused on lower case numbers because those were the documents that they processed earlier, right? Same thing in EU, same thing in OC, same thing in SA. So that does mean that there is a better chance if you have a low case number, even though all case numbers are now current for most regions apart from the 3 countries that are accepted. Case number shouldn't be important at this point. It is, though, because because clearly they've processed in the past by case number, and therefore those cases were ready to schedule. So again, looking back at those 11,000 cases that are processed, many of those would have been low case numbers. That's how it works. So those low case numbers still have a better chance than high case numbers. Okay, couple more questions and I'll have to call this a day. The Go lawsuit gave us just 48 hours to add plaintiffs. Why did he do so? He couldn't manage to understand. Is that fair from him too? What a ridiculous, Neda, I'm sorry, you're not paying attention. That's silly. Firstly, Curtis Morrison and Greg Siskind held open a waitlist for several weeks prior to announcing, in Greg's case, that the case was open for a few cases to add on, right? And so to say you only had 48 hours notice, I'm sorry, that's bullshit, right? You had more notice than that. If you were paying attention, as you should have been, for something that's a life-changing situation, then yeah, you have more notice than that. You should have been on the wait list. You should have been ready to go. You should, Then why did they have to limit the time? Well, the point about that is that the Go case was already filed, and they couldn't afford to slow down action for the Go people that had filed by taking too long to add loads more cases, right? Curtis Morrison is going to approach things differently, but in the Go case, they didn't want to slow things down, right? That's what they've publicly stated. So they had a strategy. That's their strategy. They made clear their timelines and they had a wait list. I don't think you've got any reason to complain about that, frankly. So the lawsuit doesn't guarantee the visa, and what if we win it? I'm from Nepal. Yeah, no, the lawsuit doesn't guarantee that the embassy will do something, even on the mandamus cases, if they're won, right? And here's the reason. Kathmandu embassy, for example, have very few cases that they've effectively done nothing compared to what they would normally do. And so no, there's no guarantee that you're going to be one of those few cases that gets through. What if 3,000 people in Nepal are all on the lawsuit? The more people that are on the lawsuit, the more or the less likely it is that all those people can be helped. Clearly can't be helped if there's too many people. So no, it doesn't guarantee. There is no guarantees here. Not for low case numbers, not for named plaintiffs. You've got more chance if you're a named plaintiff, but not a guarantee. Okay. Is there a lawsuit that we can enter now? I think Curtis Morrison is going to file. I think his wait list is still open. You need to look into that. Okay, you've got Google. Get off your butt and Google Curtis Morrison's webpage. It's curtismorrisonlaw.com. But go and Google it. Look into it for yourself. Jacob, this is interesting. In discussion with 2 posts, and they seem to have accepted, but I had a very, very good justification. They told me they're trying to expedite and hence the change, then forget about it. And hence the change, then forget about it. A few cases, the squeaky wheel will get through, Jacob. So, good for you for speaking to your posts. Presumably, that meant that you were scheduled at one post, and then you wanted to move to the other post. If, on the other hand, you've spoken to two posts that are both willing to accept your case, but KCC isn't playing ball, then the embassies don't have any control over that. But anyway, it's good that you're doing something. Since the visa bulletin is current, when will Kentucky start sending appointments randomly, regardless of case number? They are now, effectively. In theory, any case number could get current, but I showed you what's actually happening. What's actually happening is that any case number could get interviewed, but what's actually happening is that they're giving priority at the lower end of the case number range because those cases were processed earlier, right? This is another good question. Is there still enough time to change from CP to AOS, or it's too late? It would be in AL, if that matters. AL, Alabama. What the hell are you doing in Alabama? He's like, there are 50 states to choose from. Why would you choose Alabama? Anyway, whatever. Alabama. I can't get over it. Sorry, Thorn. I don't know what you're thinking. But anyway, is there time to process AOS? Yes, there is time. So AOS has this traditional thing of having to wait 90 days before you file. I do suggest people try and observe that 90 days if they can, but you can file. I've seen adjustment of status cases filed in September and get done by the end of the month. Now, clearly, at the moment, the field offices are struggling a little bit, but things are returning to normal in America, particularly in other states other than Alabama. In Alabama, they don't understand about masks or vaccinations or anything, yeah, you've got a good chance if you can file now. If your case is ready to file now, absolutely file. There is still time. If you look at normal processing timelines for adjustment of status, you would think there is no time, but actually they can work very quickly for DV lottery cases. Okay. So Curtis Morrison apparently is going to give an update on the new lawsuit today. So yeah, that would be worth watching. OC 1400 received the email that ready for scheduling. Live in Uganda. Nairobi. Yeah, Nairobi is accepting a few cases, I believe, but not many. Not many. Adam, you may want to consider. Are you from Australia? Sydney is accepting a few cases, and for them, a few cases for them is enough, right? They could handle all of their work and probably will. And as we know, Sydney, Australia and New Zealand, although they were extremely strict during the COVID crisis, it's paying off now. They're in good control of the COVID crisis, so their embassies are probably going to work better. In Nairobi, it's not looking so good, right? Yeah, I don't understand this one, Francis. I don't understand your question. Do you think there will be an unfair distribution of visas, even if you're holding to a lower case number? Yeah, I think everything that's happening right now is unfair. And yes, there will be an unfair distribution of numbers. Of visas. What sense is it if somebody followed all the instructions, they sent in their documents, and they're one of the 11,000, let's say they're even one of the 11,000 cases where they're ready for scheduling and they still don't get scheduling. They're current and they still don't get scheduled. And let's say they're a low case number. There are going to be people that are like that for no apparent reason. They're just not going to get scheduled, even when their embassies are open. Of course, it's unfair. It's going to continue to be unfair. And unfairness, I mean, COVID is unfair. It sucks. COVID sucks. It's a very unfair thing. But the government could have taken steps. The Department of State, yeah, they're gutted. They've been, their infrastructure has been destroyed, but they could have done something. And you know, they've had a year. These sort of comments always crack me up. It's a scam. A scam for me, I mean, you know, Don Prince. A scam for me is when someone does something for money. This isn't a scam. This is just blatant disorganization. There's no monetary gain in this, which is what a scam is about. So it's a weird word to use, but anyway, whatever. Why the hell did you pick Alabama? There you go. There you go. My baby used to live in Alabama. I rescued him from Alabama. Never moved to Alabama. Exactly. Alabama, for Christ's sake. It makes no sense. Anyway, I mean, you knew California existed, right? If you wanted somewhere cheap, you could go to Florida. Alabama? What the hell? You know. Oh, Bundix, you're on. Where's Bundix? What did you say? Started 10,000. Oh, what's this? I don't know. I'm trying to look for you. Apparently, you've made some sort of epic comment, Bundix. I would have liked to have seen it. No, I'm just looking for other questions here to add. Sorry to ask again, but it's so confusing. Everyone says wait for 2NL before sending the documents. No, everyone doesn't bloody say that. I don't say that. Firstly, firstly, the 2NL is not the request from KCC to send you documents. People misunderstand that. I don't know why. The 2NL, for all the years I've been dealing with, has been the interview schedule. That is not the letter that you receive or the email that you receive that says send in your documents. But since late December and January, I've been telling people to send in the documents. Right, and if you haven't sent in your documents by now, you're probably too late, right? But when you say everyone says wait for 2NL, no, everyone doesn't say that. Only idiots say that. Others say send the documents anyway without the notification. What do we do? Send your bloody documents is what you should have done. You're probably too late now. But if you want any chance at all, send your documents. KCC are not going to ask you for your documents. If you've got a low case number and you send your documents in now, you might get lucky. But if you don't send in your documents, you absolutely certainly cannot get lucky. You cannot get scheduled. So it's idiotic not to send in new documents. And we're now May, and I've been saying that for months. So I don't know where you've been in that. And don't listen to idiots. Listen to me. You know, and I have not been saying wait for your 2NL because that would be a stupid thing to say. Is there news for West Africa and Liberia? I mean, the news is the same for everyone. Doesn't matter about your country. That was not. So that was not nice to Alabama. I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult you. Work brought me here. Can't move the plant. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I understood that, but still, Alabama. Anyway, good food. Good food. You know, if you like grits. When should I pay the DV lottery fee for the adjustment of status? Right. So you have to do. If you are going to adjust status, you have to pay it as quickly as possible. Bearing in mind that you're supposed to file the receipt for that payment in your I-485 package. So get on and pay it, because guess where it's going? It's going to KCC. And guess what KCC aren't doing very well at the moment? Working, right? So you need to get on with that. So yeah, get on with that now. If my embassy is doing interviews, should I contact? All right. So if KCC haven't sent your case to the embassy for scheduling, you know, if you haven't received your 2NL, the embassy know absolutely nothing about your case. They have no access to your data until KCC send it to them. So they may engage in dialogue with you, but they literally know nothing about your case. So you can try speaking to the embassy, but it's probably going to be a frustrating conversation because they can't do anything without KCC sending the case through. Okay, so DV 2021 with a very high case number from Asia. Is there a chance to having an interview without participating in a lawsuit? Yeah, There is a chance. I can't say there isn't a chance. It will happen. Some high case numbers, probably will get scheduled, but it's going to be about as rare as finding rocking horse shit, right? And that's not a very commonly found thing. It's not going to be common. I'm kind of angry this morning. I'm angry at the situation. It could have been so much better. So yeah, this morning is not a good time to ask silly questions. KCC didn't send any email to anyone in April in Nepal, and those that had their 2NL. Yeah, so just let me briefly recap on that. The 2NLs are almost always sent prior to the end of the month, and so I assumed that they would be sending them yesterday. They didn't send them. I think they may have sent a few, but they've switched now. They've switched now to a strategy of sending 2NLs per consulate. They're working in, they're not working in the normal ways. And so I suspect that we're going to see some 2NLs coming out in early May for June interviews. But it'll be limited numbers. That's what I think we'll probably see. But it's clearly not normal. It's clearly not working right. Okay. All right. Last one. Don Prince, you're the one that thinks the whole thing's a scam, right? But you sent your documents. Well done. You sent them in January. Well done. Do you think you can send the email to find out if they're satisfied in your AF53K? Do that. Send in the email to see if they're satisfied. But because you're AF53K, I think it's clear now that they've probably only prioritized very early case numbers, probably at less than 20K in Africa, let's say, just as a rough guess, looking at what they've actually achieved in terms of scheduled interviews. We'll see. But I think it's likely that they've not even processed your documents because your number was high, and therefore they prioritized other cases before yours. It's annoying as hell. They shouldn't do that, but this is a weird year. Okay, last question. I didn't see Bundik's comments from Bundik, so I have to recap on that. One last question then. Let me try and find something about mandamus lawsuit. I guess I hate to end on this one, so I'll answer this one. Maybe I'll do one more. You're in Asia, your case number is 36,000 plus. You sent your documents, haven't got a reply. Yeah. Rather like the previous person from Africa, AF53K, your case number is high, and therefore your chances are low. Because even though you did the right things and sent in your documents, they've probably prioritized other cases before you, and I don't think they're going to do very much more between now and the end of the year unless the judge tells them to do so. Let me just sort of cover an expectation thing. So if you're on a lawsuit and you're a named case and you're not ready for scheduling, I think the lawyers may have made this a requirement, at least on one of the lawsuits, that you were ready for scheduling. But if you're not ready for scheduling, if you had at least submitted your DS-260, then there's a chance of getting scheduled anyway, because what will happen is if the court says, here's a list of people, government, you've got to give us a report on, that's what they'll do. They'll ask for a report on those people. And the government go away and they find out what's the situation with this case and this case and this case. And then in order to appear like they're working, they will do work for those cases. They will schedule some of those cases. And even for the ones where they have been ignoring the documents, they'll then go and find the documents, they'll process them, and then they'll schedule those cases. That almost certainly will happen. I don't know if it will happen in high volumes, but it will happen at least for some cases. It did happen in September, exactly that way. We had some people that were not ready for scheduling, and they got through. So it does happen that way. Mandamus lawsuits and lawsuits in general are a good thing. There's no downsides to suing the government, by the way. I get that question quite a bit as well. Am I going to be? Is it going to affect me when I go to America next time? No, there's no downside to suing the government. They're not allowed to take retaliatory action against you. Everyone's got the right to sue the government if they've got a case, right? So there's no harm in that. It's not personal. It's not a personal thing. We're asking them to do their effing jobs. So there you go. Swan says, if you like everything deep fried, you're right. But seriously, it's not the most open state. Yeah, it's not the most open state, yeah. But it has beautiful spots and super nice people. I know they're warm and loving. I used to love sweet tea. I've worked around most states in the country. So yeah. But the not the most open state, yeah, not really clued up for immigrants. But anyway, good luck to you there, Swan. All right, okay. Thanks everyone for joining me. Please make sure you subscribe. This is a crappy year. I wish I had better, more upbeat information to share with you. But as I said earlier, I believe in giving you the real position, and you can. If you don't like the real position, you can listen to someone else that blows smoke up your ass, if that's what you prefer. But the reality is, and the reality has been for some time now, we're in serious trouble in DV 2021. DV 2020 was a serious mess too. The fighting that began in DV 2020, I hope, will help DV 2021, and DV 2022, when that starts, I hope it will be helped too by the lawsuits that are currently ongoing. We'll have to wait and see how that fight goes. All right, everyone. Thanks for your time this morning. All right. Keep well. Bye-bye.